The following is a Spirit Street production.
It was a fun-filled week for some Big 12 teams this weekend. Our power rankings are back out for week number 2. Some moved up, some moved down. It's just like I told you guys. It was not going to stay the same. Let's get into this, people. This is the Big 12 Insiders.
Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show, presented by Synergy Financial Partners. Now let's go to booming North Texas, home of Studio 73. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. It's your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, along with Tim Fitzgerald. Fitz, how is it going today?
Good. We got an interesting layer now to our power rankings. The 24/7 Big 12 publishers decided to have a vote and do their own. So when we show your power rankings as we unveil them, next to that will be what the Big 12 publishers said, which is very interesting. And most of them are unchanged. Big B, you're kind of on track with them, but if there's something different, it doesn't say same, it says what school's there. So this will get a little bit more interesting. There's only one kind of profound difference between the two lists, and we'll get into that when we hit it.
Absolutely. So again, as always, everybody, we appreciate all your support. We've been growing like crazy, so we appreciate that. Again, remember to always like, follow, subscribe. Definitely leave those comments. We love the back and forth, and hit the notification bell so you will know when all Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So we appreciate all of that. Let's get into this, Fitz. So look, at number 16, I admit last week, and I even said it at the time, I had Cincinnati at number 16. The UC fans let me have it. Chad, Brenda, he let me have it. I just couldn't bring myself to put Houston at number 16 because of Willie Fritz. Houston is at number 16, and I'll be quite frank with you, it's not close. It's not close. That was a terrible performance. They already have to have another quarterback. The quarterback played lousy. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but they got to do something because it just didn't look good. They are the worst team in the Big 12, and like I mentioned earlier, Fitz, it's not even close at this, but that was a miserable performance.
Yeah. That was so bad. I almost feel like Willie Fritz said, okay, you guys haven't been doing what we need to do in practice. We're going to put it on the field now and see if you got your way. Yeah. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit. Maybe they just stink, but that was bad. That was bad. And I would think they're going to improve vastly over the course of a season, unless the players just aren't buying in to the discipline and the type of football that Willie Fritz and his coaches want them to play.
Yeah, and that could be it. We don't know. It was 1 week. I like what you said. I like the previous statement that you said is Willie Fritz is like, you know what? We haven't been doing the stuff the way that I want to do it. You want to continue to do it your way? Let's put it out here and let's see what happens. And this is what happens. I've been a part of that before. I'm sure lots of people that have played in athletics, when they go through a new coach and you're not doing what you're supposed to do, they've gone through this. It happens sometimes. It just happens. And now the teaching becomes a lot easier because you stink. You showed everybody across the country that you stink. Do you want to listen? And I think it's time to listen because we unless you just want to continue to get your head beaten in. And if you do, great. But I'm guessing that you don't. So
I agree. I that was awful. 27-7 against UNLV. But let's be honest here. UNLV is supposed to be pretty good.
They are.
And maybe they're much better than what we thought. Some people think they'll be the non-P4 program in the college football playoff. They got a journey through the Mountain West to accomplish first, but that's a good start for the Rebels. A school that I will always say belongs in the Big 12, so I can go to Vegas on the regular. Just saying.
Moving on. Look, I'm sorry, Cincinnati fans. I know you're going to beat me up, but you're at 15 this week. I look, you won a game. You beat Townsend. You're not in the basement. You can still send me the hate text, or not the text, but the hate messages, all that good stuff. I understand it. All I've said is just continue to prove me wrong. I have no problems with being wrong. Absolutely none. But go show me that I'm wrong. And this week is a little bit better week. I mean, I'm not saying Pitt is a world beater by any means because they're not. But you should be able to win this football game. But as of now, I got you at 15.
Yeah. Well, first of all, a lot of this is a beauty contest. How did you do? They
Right.
beat Towson, 38-20. It's
Right.
okay. But yeah, it's gonna move up and down quite a bit. We're going to get into a little more meat over the next 2 weeks. We'll have a better understanding of these schools, particularly when we have a couple non-conference games involving conference teams. That'll be a cheat code for us.
Right.
But yeah, Cincinnati, after last year, you got some stuff to prove, so you're still hovering down there at the bottom. But Big B, I just wanted to double check. I can still send you hate texts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take it. Absolutely. Now, here's a good thing. You brought up a good point, and I was going to bring this up earlier or later, but this is not the reason that these are the power rankings as of now is because, number one, we don't have – I get it that maybe you played a bad game against somebody and it's just one game, but that's the only game we have to go on at this point. We don't have 5 games to say, oh, you know what? Yeah, this was just a stinker, but we've seen them and they look good. No, we don't know that. We absolutely don't know that. So this is where you are based on what you've done. There's been 1 week, and this is where it's at. So let's move on. 14, I have BYU. I considered them being higher than this, Fitz. I really did. I know they played Southern Illinois, but BYU, they look different. First of all, they found a quarterback, but they look way different than what they did last year. More physical. They ran the football. The up front guys, they were more physical. The defense was physical and fast. Again, Southern Illinois, I get it, but there's other teams in this conference or across the country that played FCS schools that didn't look good. BYU did.
Yeah. The Cougars are going to remain towards the bottom because they've got a lot to prove.
Yep.
But this was a good step. We'll see once they start fleshing out a tougher schedule in the weeks ahead, but that looked like a better product, period.
Absolutely. Moving on to number 13, I have Texas Tech. And look, a win's a win, and I'll take the win. But for what I saw, Texas Tech should be ashamed of themselves. That didn't look good. 51 points to Abilene Christian is what you've given up. And the bottom line is this. At the end of this overtime game, or at the end of the game, we'll just say that, they should have lost. If Abilene Christian's quarterback had a little bit more patience in the pocket instead of trying to step up and run, if he takes a step to his left, there's a guy open in the end zone, and you lose. So that was pathetic. Don't tell me about the 52 points that you scored. Come on, Tech. You got to be better than this, man. You have to be.
Yeah, that was disappointing, particularly defensively. You give up that kind of scoring output to a team like Abilene Christian. Look, yeah, you won. Great. Well, I could win a beauty contest as long as everyone else was ugly as hell. So there's some context here that's needed.
Yeah. That was not a good performance at Tech. You can be mad and say, oh, you can't put a team that won this low. Yes, I can, because it looked pathetic. You're better than this. Now go prove that you're better than this. So Moving on, number 12, Arizona State. Fitz, look, they played better. I had them down near the bottom. 12, I guess technically is still near the bottom, but they're not last. They're not next to last. That was a good performance. I and a lot of people thought Wyoming would go in there and win. It was the exact opposite. Arizona State just blew the doors off of Wyoming. Maybe they got something going here, Fitz. Maybe it's not going to be another year of rebuilding the program. Maybe they've got something figured out.
Chris from the Arizona State site said that exactly to me. It feels like something's happening here. Mm-hmm. And when a publisher who's been covering a bad team says that, I'm like, okay, I'll park up. You've seen what it looked like before. Right. If you're seeing something different, I'm going to trust you. But boy, they did look good. And like the Jeffersons, they're moving on up.
Yeah, they're moving up. At number 11, I've got Colorado. I kept them the same. They're the exact same as what they were last week.
Coward.
What's that?
Coward.
No. Yeah, I should have. I should have moved them. I probably should have moved them down. I'll be honest. I should have moved them down, but I did not. I left them at 11. Look, here's the thing. It didn't look good. Nothing looked. It looked the exact same as what it did last year, if we're all being honest. And I've said this about North Dakota State. I've said it for a really long time. if they were in the Big 12 conference, they're not competing to win the Big 12. If they had to play Big 12 teams week in and week out, they're not competing. They're just not. They might win a few games. They might finish 500 every now and then, but they're not going to compete in the Big 12 or any other Power 4 conference. They're not. Now, you put them in the Mountain West, you put them in like the American, every now and then they will compete for a conference title. They can hover around 500. They could do that. But for Colorado, if it's supposed to be so much better and they got so much better, it looked the exact same. I get that it's week 1, but come on, man. At some point, things have to be better. The coaching at the end of the game was bad. I know that Dion or people said that was Shadur's problem. I go, if you're a quarterback, I would have called a timeout. You're telling me you're checking out of a run when we can literally run the clock out and he's checking to a pass? Well, I mean, I don't know. The discipline wasn't there. We saw that again. The allergic to pass rushing was there again. It just didn't look good, Fitz. It just didn't.
No, it doesn't look like a power level team, to be honest.
No.
It looks like a bunch of guys who could be pretty good, but they're not glued together in any format of a team.
Right.
Look, Shadur Sanders is good. His brother's good. Travis Hunter's incredible.
Yeah.
But you got to have more than that. You got to have lines. You got to be physical. You got to make plays. And I feel like they have the tools maybe, but it's not being put to use.
It's not getting put together. We'll see. Again, week 1, we don't want to crush them too much. They got a big one this week. And we're going to find out because Nebraska's a pretty good football team, or we think they're pretty good. What I saw of them, they look physical, the exact opposite of what Colorado looked like. So we will see what happens there. Number 10, Baylor. Baylor makes a jump. Look, Baylor fans got all over me, Fitz. They got all over me because they said that Tarleton State was going to beat them. I never said that. All I said was just be leery. Be leery of Tarleton State. Well, apparently they took that to heart and they beat the brakes off of Tarleton State and said, take that, Big B. Yep. Be leery of that. I'm like, okay, I give.
You got ahead of yourself. We got to pop this up here real quick. Well, that's the wrong thing. Got to pop the right thing up, Tim. Okay, there we go. There's the first 6. And you can see the next to it is the publishers, pretty much the same. I mean, they got Baylor and Colorado swapped, I think, and I don't know, BYU's down there, Tech's down there, but most of them are the same. Big B. And look, Baylor looked better. They still got more to prove to me. One Tarleton State game isn't going to go that far to define to me whether or not they're that much different.
Yeah.
Finn's electric, quarterback's electric. Not a great completion percentage, I don't think, if I recall those numbers correctly.
2 bad picks too.
Yeah, there's something there. It just needs a lot more finishing work.
Gotcha. We're going to take a quick break here. Yes, I got ahead of myself. I apologize. We'll take a quick break. And on the other side of this, we will reveal the rest of the Big 12 Brien Hanley / Big B power rankings. We will be right back.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Again, this is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, along with Tim Fitzgerald. We are giving you and breaking down the power rankings for the Big 12 Insiders for week number 2. Had some changes at the bottom of this, Fitz. So week number 2. We left off with number 10. Got a little ahead of myself, but we're at number 9 now. I got West Virginia at number 9. Now, West Virginia fans, look, I'm sorry. You can't go out there and get your head beaten in and just think that everything is okay. I'm still a believer. I am still a believer. I think I may have undersold Penn State a little bit. I think I may have done that. Penn State looked really, really good. They look like a different football team than the ones that we've seen in the past. They probably heard a lot of people thinking and picking West Virginia was going to win this football game. But Penn State went out. Look, West Virginia fans, it didn't look good. Don't give me the excuse about the weather delay. That game was over by the time that weather delay happened. Penn State was just a better football team, but it happens. It happens. But you're at number 9. Again, I'm still a believer. I'm not jumping off this bandwagon that West Virginia can have a really good season. I'm still on it. But after 1 week, they got to be at 9, Fitz.
West Virginia looked unpolished. They didn't look like they were
Yeah.
anywhere near to be a game ready product, and that's unfortunate. And then the long storm delay, it wasn't even a rain delay, it was a hurricane delay.
Yeah.
Kind of sucked the rest of the life out of them, it looked like, unfortunately. Penn State's improved, no doubt. They were better than I thought, but they also had to go hire a Big 12 offense coordinator to get there. Andy Kotelicki from Kansas goes up there. Boy, he had an impact. He was good at KU. He's good at Penn State. I think the gap was greater than I imagined because Penn State's better and West Virginia wasn't ready. And I think most West Virginia fans would agree with that statement.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're exactly right there. West Virginia's just got to pull some stuff together. Like you said, they didn't look like a polished football team. Now, again, it's week 1, so I don't know that you necessarily need to be a polished football team, but Penn State looked like they were one, and when one is polished and one's not, and then the talent differential is that great. And there you could see there was a difference in talent between Penn State and West Virginia. You could see it. Things get out of hand, and that game got out of hand. So at number 8, TCU. I think this is a little misconceiving. I think this is a bigger win, Fitz, on the road at Stanford than what people might give it credit for. I'm not saying Stanford's going to win the ACC, although we don't know. I mean, you look at what the ACC is right now, the top 2 teams and how they've just absolutely fallen apart. And Big 12 fans, you sure you want them in? But we'll leave that for conversation for a different day. But I think this is a good win for TCU going on the road on a Friday at night and beating Stanford. Stanford's a physical football team. TCU had to fight. It's a good win for them.
I'm not sold. I'm not. I just think Stanford stinks. They had no crowd because school wasn't in.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, don't you have fans besides your students? Show up to the damn game, man. That's exactly why the Big 12 had zero interest in you. Besides being smug jerks. TCU should have won that easily. They had to kind of come back. Yeah, he got maybe caught asleep at the wheel a little bit early in that game. Maybe they didn't expect Stanford to be as physical as they were, but man, you're playing another power conference team. It reminded me of, games in the past where you've seen a team go in and just take victory for credit, just we're going to check this one off and then get their butts beat. They survived. I'll give them that. But boy, you got to be better. If this is going to be a redemption year for Coach Dykes and the rest of the Frogs after making it to the national championship game one year and flopping the next, redemption is going to need a little more juice.
It will. It will. I just think it was I think you might be right as far as maybe got caught asleep at the wheel. First of all, I'll be honest with you. It's tough playing a Division I college football game. Let's just say the stadium holds 50,000 and you have 12,000 people there, and half of those people are your fans. It's tough playing in that type of environment. I'm not going to lie. So maybe that was part of it too, Fitz. I mean, you saw that crowd. That was pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. I can't even believe that Stanford would even be mad about people not wanting them in their conference based on that. That was terrible. I feel bad for TCU for scheduling that game and having to go out there because a lot of those kids played Texas high school football and they have more fans at those high school football games than what was at that Stanford game. That's just just an embarrassment.
They don't have just more fans. They have better fans.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It was pathetic. So let's move on here. UCF at number 7, moving up. They're moving up. Now, they didn't play anybody. Started a little sluggish, but they got it rolling. And once they got it rolling, you couldn't turn it off. It was like the fire hydrant that you can't just turn off. It takes a minute to get it open, but once it gets open, it just runs and runs and runs. So UCF looking good, played good. I like UCF. I think they're going to be a player in this conference. Can they compete for the title? I don't know, but we're going to keep seeing that game against Florida that I kept, hyping up for them. Doesn't look near as good at this point in time, though, Fitz.
I wish they were playing Miami.
Yeah.
To prove something. But, I think Miami's probably the class of the ACC this year, but maybe Florida's just that awful. That game remains big for UCF in recruiting circles and all that, but I'm buying on the Knights right now. I agree with everything you said.
Absolutely. Next up at number 6, Arizona. Look, I moved Arizona down a spot, Fitz. Defense. Don't talk to me about 61 points. That's New Mexico. They lost to Montana State. They gave up 35 to Montana State. I don't want to hear that. Okay, so you're supposed to score 61 points. Are you supposed to give up 39? No. So, and it can be the first game. I understand, but what are we talking about here? Now, granted, you can't discount, somebody throwing for 400 plus yards, like 433. Receivers got 305. They had 2 running backs. One was over 100 yards, averaging almost 8 yards a carry. Another had 90 yards that was averaging 9 yards a carry. So they did whatever they wanted on offense. But Fitz, we thought they'd be able to do whatever they wanted to on offense in this game. But 39 points, too much. Too much.
Mexico stinks. Yeah. Man, you got into a shootout with New Mexico. I mean, but boy, that offense did look good. Again, that quarterback receiver combo, that's going to be scary for teams.
Yes.
But this didn't impress me much.
No, didn't impress me. Probably could have moved them down another spot, to be honest, but we'll be fair for now. Because again, they did put up 61 points, but yeah, you can't. And again, 24 of those points, because I know what people will say. Well, it was garbage time. No, 24 came before halftime when the game was still tight, when the game was still up for grabs. Arizona broke this game open in the third quarter, but they didn't in the first half, and they gave up 24 points. Got to be better than this.
Yep.
Last one before the last break here. Iowa State moved them up. Again, not a lot of scoring. Gave up a ton of time of possession, so they didn't have the ball that much to do a bunch of scoring, but I just think it was an Iowa State game. First of all, Iowa State didn't show anything. I saw some of this game, Fitz. I mean, it looked like middle school football, what they were out there running, because their big game, at least coming up this week. They're trying to beat Iowa, but they didn't show anything. They didn't do anything. It was just kind of a yeoman's type of a game. We're not going to show much. We're just going to go out and win.
I wouldn't have moved them up if I were you, but you're you and I'm me. Still, I don't know who to put at 5. I wasn't overwhelmed by Arizona. I'm not ready to put UCF that high. I'm not sure who I'd slot in there either. So good enough. I think the Cyclones are going to be good. They just didn't look great.
Yeah, they didn't look great. But we'll see. We'll see. For me, the reason you can't give up 39 points to New Mexico.
No,
you just can't do that and stay where you're at. I'm just not giving that kind of weight. So here we are here. And this is what the publishers think on the other side. So,
yep. So they moved Iowa State to 7 and Arizona up, UCF up. But, for the most part, you got sames through all there. So I wanted to do it that way. So the schools that were different popped out better. But, yeah, interesting. They're the same in the top 4. I can tell you that. At least the top 4 are all the same schools. So that's where we're at as of the first 12 schools in this conference. I'm interested to see if there's any changes at
the top. There could be. There very well might be. But we're going to take a quick break here. On the other side of this, we will be right back again to unveil the top 4 of our power rankings for the Big 12 for week 2.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right, welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Again, this is Big B, Brien Hanley with Tim Fitzgerald. Today, we are breaking down the Big 12 Insiders power ranking. So we are down to the final 4 teams. So basically, I don't really have a change here. I got Kansas at number 4, so it's spoiler alert. Kansas at number 4 here. Look, I didn't even know Lindenwood was a team. I mean, I'll be honest. I've been watching football, college football, and where I could understand what was going on for the better part of 40 years. I have no idea what Lindenwood is, where it is, what it is. I just don't know. But Kansas, again, started a little sluggish and then turned it on. This game wasn't close. They can stay at 4.
Yeah, Lindenwood's awful.
Yeah.
They're awful. I saw one power rankings that Emporia State, a D2 school in Kansas, was ranked 2 spots ahead of Lindenwood. Yeah. That may not be accurate, but it just shows that this is a program that has elevated itself from D2 to FCS to FBS very quickly, and it shows. They rushed the product. They're not ready for this at all.
They're not ready. That's right.
But that was a great place. Kansas, wanted to get Jalen Daniels back in the groove. He's there. And, he had one bad pass that ended up in a pick. But look, this KU team's going to be good. I'm just eager to see them against better competition than Lindenwood.
Yeah, absolutely. At number 3, Oklahoma State played maybe, as far as FCS opponents, the best one out there, in my opinion. South Dakota State has won 2 back-to-back national championships. This is another school to go along with North Dakota State. Week in and week out, they're not competing with the Big 12 if they had to be in the conference. But if you put them in the Mountain West or the American, yeah, they can figure some stuff out in that. Not saying they're going to win it every year, but they could be around the 500 mark. Really good football team. Played Oklahoma State about as tough as they could play them for the gap in talent. But Oklahoma State's a good football team. This one got ugly, like we thought. Fairly close first half, middle of the third quarter, the game was over. Oklahoma State did what it needed to do.
They did. That's a good team. They just took care of them.
Yep.
And my personal ballot, I turned into the publishers. I moved Oklahoma State up because we always talk about you can't look past these FCS teams. Well, they played the best.
Yes,
and
they
did. They just went to work.
Yeah,
and that's a compliment. And I think this is going to be a pretty good Oklahoma State team. They just looked like a much more finished product, almost like they've got a veteran coach who knows what he's doing. They struggled last year early, but they apparently want to make a statement about this team being different than last year's.
Absolutely. And I think they will be. So number 2, Kansas State got off to kind of a sluggish start offensively. Defense was lights out, but offensively sluggish. Again, another team that didn't show much.
Nope.
I watched the game, tracked it. I mean, they ran about 6 running plays. I mean, didn't differentiate from any of that kind of stuff. It was just the basic, just one way or the other, which is fine. Tennessee Martin, not spectacular, not horrible, not horrible by any stretch of the imagination, but not spectacular. It was just kind of a whole hum game. And Kansas State won. They just kind of did what they did.
Yep. We've got a strong quarterback. They've got a strong interior defense. They're a good run defense, and K-State kind of got through them a little bit. But again, they didn't show much. They ended up winning by 35 points. It's hard to shame them for that, but it was less than awe-inspiring. And big reason why is they just bottled up Avery Johnson and said, we ain't showing much. We're not going to let this kid run around. He had 3 carries, and 2 of them, I believe, were on flushes, on passing situations, a little bit of blocking issues at times for K-State's new rebuild offensive line. But overall, they got it done, and they did it without putting Avery Johnson in the way of, a lot of hits. But boy, that one carry he had seemed to get him going, the one design play. And of course, a lot of it, that offense is coming off of reads, and they were reading to stop Avery Johnson.
Right.
So he was handing it off the whole game. But I expect to see more of him, and it could get very interesting as the season goes.
Absolutely. Last but not least, we still have Utah, or I still have Utah at number 1. They look dynamite coming out of the box. I mean, Southern Utah is not much. Let's just be honest about that. But Utah did exactly what they were supposed to do. Cam Rising coming back looked phenomenal. Didn't show a whole lot of rust, in my opinion, at all in his game after being off for an entire season last year. I get it. He's an older guy. But there still can be rust. And it didn't seem to be. Utah's good, Fitz. They're good.
Yep. They are. They just took care of business. I know Southern Utah isn't very good, but they just went out there and asserted themselves. And I saw nothing there to make me think they're not going to be in Arlington against someone else for the Big 12 championship. Not a thing there told me I was over judging Utah. I think they're going to be really good.
Got it. So that is it for the power rankings. Let's put up the there we go. This is everybody from 16 to 1. Publishers had it all the same as I did as far as the top 4 were concerned. A lot of these were close to the same. But I like it. Power rankings, again, it's a situation. We know it's going to be different every week. I promised you that it was going to be different from last week to this week, and it was. And I'm promising you again, it is going to be different next week when we do this again, it's just going to be different. And I like that fact that it is going to be different, Fitz.
Yep.
Conference went 14-2. As a whole, I think Big 12 looked good. Look, if there's any question in my mind, at least, if the Big 12 is the third best conference, if we're going to settle for third, let me just say that. If we're going to settle for third, I don't think there's any question that we're the third best conference. You look around the country, you saw what Clemson, they got their head beaten in. You saw Florida State is a disaster of a got blown out by Boston College, blown out at home after going on to Dublin and losing in week 0. First team, I think, Fitz, since 1978 that has lost their first 2 games after being double-digit favorites. So that's kind of where Florida State is. It looks like it's imploding. And basically their season's over after 2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks. And remember, I know people are going to say, oh, well, come on, Big B, it's early. These are 2 conference games that they lost. It's not 2 games, 2 conference games. They're not winning the ACC. They're just not. That's not happening. So unless a 4-loss team wins the ACC, and then do we really want these teams? We can talk about that. So I don't know. I think after week 1, Big 12 represented itself pretty good, Fitz.
Yep. Bigger challenges await. Got to keep clearing those hurdles, but 14-2 is a good place to start. And maybe the Big 12 should brag about all the points they scored like the SEC did and ignore the results of games, the actual games. I thought that was a cool trick. Yeah, I know we had a losing record against power conference opponents, but look at all the points we scored.
Correct.
That was just so SEC.
Yeah, if the SEC was smart, they should have been puffing their chest out that Vanderbilt beat Virginia Tech.
Right.
Virginia Tech, again, that's another team that in the ACC that had been talked about or has been talked about coming to the Big 12. You get 21 starters back, you go to Vanderbilt and lose? Yeah, we can pump the brakes on possibly inviting them too. So either way, thank you guys for your support. Love everything that you guys have helped with this channel. We appreciate it. We will be back with more again as the schedule keeps going. Mondays, we did the recap. Tuesday, we're doing our power rankings. Wednesday, again, we are having our publishers interviewing 2 publishers from each team. On Thursday, we got Big 12 Insiders Game Day. That was really fun last week. You guys seem to like that. And on Friday, we're doing our betting odds. So stay with us. We're just getting started. Football's just getting started. We will be back soon, and we'll talk to you later. This is the Big 12 Insiders.
This has been a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.